Look, up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's the bomb squad.
I've stated this before many years ago, Spider-Man is up there as one of my favourite superheroes growing up, especially with the Spider-Man movies. I have replayed those movies time and time again to the point where it's now a part of my memory bank now. You know, I'm something of a gamer myself, and I have managed to play a few Spider-Man games, including Spider-Man 2 Enter Electro for the PlayStation 1 and Spider-Man 2002 for the PlayStation 2. Even moving towards the future, I have played the more recent Spider-Man games from Insomniac Games. I also briefly played Ultimate Spider-Man back when I had an original Xbox console, and even though I didn't play Spider-Man 2 as a kid, I have played it recently on the PS2 and I love it, despite the very outdated graphics. But hey, I play nowadays for the swinging and the pizza time song. But there is one more Spider-Man video game to mention, and that would be the game we're going to be talking about today in Spider-Man 3. Now, here's the more interesting part about this video. I grew up and played with the PlayStation 2 version of this game. I never realized that was a PS3 version until years later when I turned 19. And that is the version we will be discussing today, only because it was Treyarch's main focus of the game being released on the PS3, PC, and the Xbox 360, so it's fair to look at the game where most of the work is being put towards. Which reminds me to say, yeah, Treyarch developed this game. You know, the same developers that brought us Call of Duty Black Ops, aka the zombie mode which still gives me horrible flashbacks. But anyway, let's swing on over to Spider-Man 3 for the PlayStation 3 and see if it holds up. Is what I would say, but first we have to wait for the game to fully download. Yeah, I miss the old days when the game loads up in an instant. So after 5 weeks goes by and we're greeted to the main menu, and oh boy, it looks like shit. I know it's only a minor issue, but look how bland it is. You have the name of the game, some generic background, and music. I'm already getting flashbacks to Ratchet & Clank 2016, and I can feel the flashbacks coming back to me.
Got enough to buy a pixelizer!
Already, we are not onto a good start, but anyway, we begin the game with a villain who I have no idea who he is. He tries to blow the building up, but here comes our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man to save the day. But first, we have a tutorial section to go through. And quite honestly, the tutorial does drag on for quite a bit. Bruce Campbell makes his appearance as well as the tutorial guide, but he's not as sarcastic as he once was before. His PS2 version, on the other hand, is exactly what I was after with his one-liners.
What would Spider-Man be without his spider powers? I'll tell you, he'd be man. Is that what you came here to play? Man 3? I don't think so. Now go ahead and crawl up this wall, you know, like Spider-Man.
He explains how to play while the game freezes for a short period of time, and it's a bit annoying if I'm being honest. Why does the game have to take a standstill so Brucey Boy can explain on how the game works? Listen to this. You press the square button for light attacks and the triangle button for heavy attacks. You can hold down the L1 button to automatically dodge enemy attacks. See, within less than 10 seconds, I've explained to you on how to fight the bad guys, and not having the game to freeze every now and then. Perhaps I'm being a little too harsh with the tutorial, especially at the beginning stage of the game. So once that's done, we head over to the swinging and it's another tutorial section. Are you fucking kidding me? So after saving the civilians from not getting blown up, the story of the game picks up and it's pretty much identical to the movie, and while you do follow key plot points from the movie itself, you only experience maybe 15% of it. The rest of the percentage is taken with beating up the local game members and defeating other villains as well. While I don't mind video games based on the movie to move from the plot to create their own stories because it has worked before in the past, but a lot of the time you will be out and about taking on game members and their leaders. It's almost like the main story gets ignored entirely for the next 2 to 3 hours because you're too focused on fighting the lizard in the sewers or going out taking pictures for DeWolf. After the introduction where Tobey Maguire explains what's been happening, the game doesn't go back to the original storytelling from the movie for at least nearly 2 hours until you make it to this section where Harry Osborn ambushes Peter Parker.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I can smell Harry. He smells like poo.
And it's not until much later in the game that we finally pick things up, obtain the black spider suit, and meet up with the Sandman. It's just weird to me that characters like Harry, Sandman, and Venom 2, who have been a major focus in the movie, have been put onto the sidelines for most of the game to make room for lower mid characters. If the Mad Bomber, that's the character's name from earlier, a completely new character created for this game alone, gets more screen time than all the other villains in this game, then something is completely off here. So yeah, I appreciate Treyarch trying to form some originality in this game, but sometimes a little goes a long way, and doing too much of it can become distracting, and I'm left forgetting about what has happened from the main plot. The graphics are fine, it's much better compared to Spider-Man 2, but man, the game's look and face models have not aged well at all. I do have to remember that this is an early PS3 video game, but still, it doesn't excuse the fact that this game looks ridiculous. Watching this cutscene alone reminds me of something I would see in Gmod Idiot Fox, with characters bopping their heads around, moving their arms like a wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube man, and screaming out, "Giant lizards!" It looks so bizarre to me that this is how the game looked all the way back in 2007. Overall, the graphics are okay, but very outdated. So in Spider-Man 3, you can swing around New York City, complete missions, doing some side tasks, and grabbing collectibles. I don't mind how New York City is designed. I always enjoyed going through one area to another, swinging through buildings, feeling just like how Spider-Man would. However, I do feel the swinging feels a little off. In Spider-Man 2, I felt like I had full range of control when it came to my swinging on how fast I can go. In Spider-Man 3, the swinging to me feels slowed down and somewhat sloppy. The speed and momentum when swinging is less focused on free-flowing and more simulated. It does later become a thing in later Spider-Man games when it does feel more better to swing around the city, but I like to think in order to fully polish the web swinging, someone had to take one for the team, and unfortunately, it's Spider-Man 3. It's not really the worst thing in this game, but it can be really noticeable if you played the previous game. Another thing I've noticed, and I'm not sure if it's my copy of the game or the PS3 system itself, but the frame rate drops down to a point where the frame rate tries to catch up with the game, and it just makes the swinging side of things not pleasant to look at. The combat is simple and straight to the point. As mentioned earlier, you have your light and heavy attacks, as well as a dodge button to counter enemy attacks. You can also use your webs to inflict damage and send the bad dudes flying up in the air. You can also use your spidey sense to locate enemies and objects to interact with. A feature I like to believe helped inspire detective mode in Batman Arkham Asylum in 2009. I should really get back into the Arkham review series at some point. I enjoy the combat in this game because it's always been a blast to play as Spider-Man and beat down the enemies. But it's not perfect by any means. First off, there is no lock-on mode to lock onto enemies, making the combat feel a little sloppy from my point of view, as sometimes I either keep attacking the air or hitting objects surrounding the fight, which breaks up the combat flow. And secondly, while you do get more movesets and combos to unlock, but you unlock them every time you finish a mission and you can't select what combos you want. Again, to compare this game to the PS2 counterpart, there's a leveling up system, and once you level up, you get to choose what combos to unlock. And with the PS3 edition, it removes the freedom of choice to build up your version of Spider-Man. And thirdly, and this will probably be a nitpick when I say this, but I kinda want to address this. The light attack button and the interacting button are the same buttons, being the square button. I have found myself wanting to interact with the object, but the game will register it as attack mode. I just find it to be very annoying every time it happens. And while you do get to play in the black spider suit, but unfortunately, there's really not much difference with the fighting side, apart from dealing double damage for a limited amount of time. It is a bit of a waste if I'm being honest. but the worst part about the combat, in my opinion, is the camera. I hate the camera in Spider-Man 3, especially when you're indoors. I know I gave some negative feedback on the camera back in my very outdated Spider-Man 2002 review, but this just takes it to a different level. It's very uncooperative, and the camera sometimes gets stuck in places and it becomes an uncomfortable experience. Which reminds me, do yourself a favor and don't turn the camera while swinging, because that'll just make things worse. So overall, the combat side of things is a bit mixed to me. I like fighting the enemies and performing cool combo tricks, but at the same time, I can't ignore the negative side of the combat too. Another thing I hate about this game is the voice acting from very talented actors. I knew Tobey Maguire wasn't going to be good given from past experience, so that was expected. But man, all the other actors like James Franco and Topher Grace were really poor in their performance here.
Oh, you think you're smart, buddy? Well, think again. I hit a bunch of cameras around here, and now I have an even better shot than I was planning. You punching me in the jaw and taking my camera. So thanks.
Oh shit, Oscar worthy. Oscar worthy, that was intense. I mean, I know it's a video game, but come on, put a little more energy to it. Even thousands of voice actors, including myself, here's my headshot by the way, would do a much better job than this. J.K. Simmons is probably the saving grace, haha, to the voice acting and perhaps the entire game too. Even with his over-the-top performing and yelling out, "Giant lizards!" Oh yeah, I've already done that joke a bit earlier. The soundtrack is fine, but nothing to write home about. It's just generic pieces from the combat to exploring around New York City. Although, there was this one song that was catchy, and it played over and over in my head for weeks. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, dun, dun. Oh god damn it, not again. So I believe with all that being said, now comes the quick time events. Oh boy, the QTEs. Okay, we get it. God of War was a thing at the time. All jokes aside, the game every now and then will ask you to perform some quick time events, whatever it's making past a section or defeating a boss. I'll admit, I did hate them at first, but looking back, the QTEs in Spider-Man 3 are actually decent for one simple reason, and that is failing the quick time events. If you fail a section, you get somewhat of a funny fail and have to try again. I think because of how outdated the game looks, it also does complement the quick time events and if you mess it up. And plus, it's because of the quick time events and failing it is what gave birth to quite possibly the greatest meme in video gaming history.
Help! Please! Someone! I'm going to die!
Oh. There was supposed to be an explosion here. Maybe I'll just add one myself and maybe it'll be better? Yep, that should do it. And finally, you have the boss battles, and they range from being simple and basic to Jesus almighty bloody Christ, what the fuck is that supposed to be? Giant lizards! Each boss will have some sort of strategy, and you have to find a way to beat each boss. I do like them as each one can be creative, but I don't like some of the other bosses like the gang leaders and the Mad Bomber's helicopter. So, what exactly do I think about Spider-Man 3 as a whole? Let me first say that this game I like to believe had a lot of potential, but much like the movie, Venom was forced into the third movie, and when that information was brought to Treyarch, they had to scramble something with Venom to make everything fit in. I think maybe that's what caused Spider-Man 3 to be labeled as one of the worst Spider-Man games out there due to changing the script and making everything work. And while I can see people's point of view, and yes, this game can be pretty bad in sections here and there, it's not really the worst video game in my opinion. There's still a couple of things to enjoy about it, like beating down enemies and failing at the quick time events just to see how hilarious the game can get. But don't get me wrong, it's still a bad video game. Not the worst, just really bad in general. The graphics are outdated, the gameplay overall can be sloppy and ridiculous at times, and the voice acting sucks major donkey ducky wiki. That's in my script. That's in my script. Donkey ducky wiki. What the fuck does that even mean? At this point, I think I would rather play the PlayStation 2 edition. Yeah, the graphics are heavily outdated, but at least it's playable, and hey, Morbius is in that game too. It is tough for me to recommend this game to people, so I'd say give it a shot if you're into memes and stuff, but other than that, this game can be skippable. But anyways, that's going to wrap up this video. I thank you all so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, then make sure to leave a like, share the video, and subscribe to the channel if you are new. My name is Justin Hurst, telling you to keep calm and keep playing video games.